3, 2, 1. We are live.
Awesome. Welcome, guys, to this week's Ask Me Anything. So this week, we're just going to have a general discussion. We're going to be answering questions, discussing about interesting situations at our work. And then, just sharing our experiences. So one interesting question, while I start off, one really interesting question or scenario that I got, I just want to share with you, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Okay. So this is a scenario where this person just recently got hired by a company. Okay. The CEO of the company really liked this guy, brought them in, and I've been talking to the CEO and like, how are things going and all that stuff. And the CEO says, oh, this guy is doing pretty good, good, all good. And suddenly, 3 or 4 months down the line, I asked them and says, I don't know what this person is doing. This person is not talking to me. And this person, I don't know what the quality of this person is, right? And that's a surprise because in the initial first 2 or 3 months, when the CEO talks to me, he says the person is doing really well, good job and all that. And then towards the end, I suddenly hear that this person is, I don't know. So I talk to the person and I ask him like, hey, what's going on? And he says that the situation is that, the CEO used to regularly call me and ask me for inputs. And this guy is a starting level job thing. And he says the CEO used to initially contact me and ask me about my, questions and doubts and all that stuff. But towards the end, the CEO has to travel and all that. So he started working much more closely with product managers, and the product managers are giving updates to the CEO. Okay. And so, but the project manager loves his work, or the product manager loves his work, and pretty much everything he suggests, the product manager takes. Okay. So my question to all of you is, what do you think about this situation? Right? Is this something we should be, we should be thinking about, or it's like, okay, it's, this person is doing good, let's not worry about it? Anybody? So you can unmute yourself and you can speak, no worries.
Yeah, my point is that he should he should put efforts so that everybody in the organization sees like what he is working on and what are his input. Uh, but yeah, there are challenges here as well, like how he can make himself visible in the organization. So yeah, it's like a
So the
half
question
complicated.
is, does it matter? So, why does it matter that we are visible in the organization? If we're doing good work, our products are getting shipped, our, the teammates that we work with like us, then why should we worry about people noticing us? So Ramesh, turn on your camera, man. Guys, turn on your camera because it sounds, it's much more fun talking when I can see who I'm talking to.
Sure, Professor.
Yeah, go ahead, Sai. Do you have a thought or anybody else have a thought? Is it important that our work get noticed? We are shipping stuff, we're doing cool stuff. Go on, guys, have an opinion. Let's just speak up.
Sir, I think It is important to get noticed, but yeah, we should keep going and we should not actually bother about it,
Hmm, hmm.
is what I
And
feel.
this is kind of interesting because culturally in India, we are not used to talking about ourselves, right? But the interesting thing is, if we don't talk about ourselves, who talks about us, right? Now, and I can tell you, after having been on both sides, right? After having been an employee as well as an employer, where I'm sitting down and I'm doing the annual reviews and all that stuff, the thing that I realize is, people may be working quietly, but if nobody notices it, how do you get credit for the work you did, right? If you did something interesting. So even for example, in a portfolio, right, the way we present our work is we say, oh yeah, here's this design. I was told to improve it. So I took it and I changed this, and this, and it worked out really well. Now the interviewer who's looking at that looks at it, it's like, okay, even I could have done that. It's really simple. That all you did was, like for example, one of the puck stocks, they just took a screen and made it a lot more simpler, like line diagrams and all that, and they launched it with that. Okay. So when they launched it with that, like the average person can look at it and say, okay, this is, even I can do that. So what's the big deal? What's so special about this designer? Right? Versus if the designer were to explain, well, this was the problem I got. This was how I thought through this problem. This was how I broke it down. And then when I finished the analysis, this was how then I realized, wow, this guy did like 120 hours worth of work to figure out to simplify the screen. Right? And I would not have thought about it. Right? And so I give you credit. The same screen, same outcome, but when you start talking about the thought process, the work you did, you get a completely different level of credit. Right? The same way, when I look at the work thing, the question that I think when I am promoting somebody or when somebody is moving up in my career is this person likely to be a leader, or is this person just following instructions? Okay. If this person is following it, technically, if the product manager is telling the designer to do something and the designer is doing that, of course, the product manager says, yeah, I like the designer, he's doing the work. But does this product manager, as a boss, I'm listening, right? What I'm trying to figure out is this guy, does the product manager like the designer because the designer is proactive and telling the product manager what they want to do? Or does this person like that designer because, he's doing exactly what the product manager is telling, right? Now, the difference between both of these two groups of people is one guy is replaceable. One guy is irreplaceable, right? The person who's working independently, who's applying their thought process and who's kind of pushing the argument forward is irreplaceable in the organization, right? Because I know they're thinking independently and they're pushing the envelope. They don't need somebody to manage them, right? Versus the other person who's being managed, yeah, all I need is a new guy. I just keep the same product manager, get a new guy, and then manage the guy. That's it. Good, done deal, isn't it? And so this is important. So a lot of us, and I know, you may not even have thought about it to this level, but this is something that's really important when even at the point that you're beginning your career. Okay. A lot of us start our careers thinking that, okay, I'll just keep doing my work and I don't care if somebody says anything or not saying, but I will be successful. I'll complete my work. But the point is, people do not know whether you are capable of taking on leadership roles or not. And therefore your career paths, your opportunities change because of that. Okay. And it has a very tangible impact on your career in the long term. Okay. So in this person's case, what this person was doing was, yeah, they were doing really good work, but they were killing their career. Okay. And so this is when I actually sat down with that person and said, let's have a conversation. What's going on? Okay. And we both talked for a while and he was saying like, yeah, the CEO is out. So all I'm doing is I'm talking with the product manager. I said, did the CEO tell you not to talk to him? No. Right. Why was the CEO talking to you and not to the other designers? Well, because I had made the introduction, right? So, okay, Prasad made the introductions. Obviously, this guy must be good. So, okay, so this person comes in. Now he has the direct line to the CEO. Why is this person not using it? So technically what you should be doing is you should be just reaching out to the CEO just once a month or once a week and just talk about stuff that you're doing and how you're solving the specific problems and what new problems you see, right? If you just have that conversation, and ideally when you're having those kinds of leadership conversations, you should never say, what kind of problem should you take and what, that's a separate question that I will ask, okay? But the thing is, always be in touch with leadership, always showcase your work, always talk about what you're doing, and that is what gets you the value, because people realize you're going above and beyond of what you're doing, and therefore your leadership material in their mind. Okay. And in any organization, leaders are very rare. We might think that, it's very difficult to get promoted because there are 1,000 people competing from the same position, but from a top-down perspective, it's not that. It's exactly the opposite. You actually see 1,000 people there, but maybe only one person that is capable of doing it, right? Maybe some people were capable, but they never talked about it. But I only see the people that are speaking up, right? And so that is something that is really important, okay? Now, the second question is, what should you be talking with a leader, right? If you were talking to your head of business unit, or you're talking to, let's say, your CEO, or you're talking to a senior VP or whatever, how should you be approaching? How should you be talking to them? Anybody? Anybody, guys? Go ahead, Kriti.
To approach our managers or leaders, we should be accountable for responding and not on reacting things.
Okay. So what does that mean?
So, I learned it today. So
Hmm.
basically, reaction is something that might affect us or that might not required. Say, suppose there is something it's not working. We
Hmm.
can actually take it in a way and we can actually handle it in a way that it might work. But we exaggerated it and we reacted in such a manner that things might get worse. But
Right.
we can actually put it in that way that the other person, the manager, the leaders can understand us. We had a communication rather than the arguments or kind of something. So it's better, it's on that level that what you are speaking, you are trying to actually explain what you want, and you can actually let that person know what you are trying to say. So this is how basically you are responding to something. You're not.
Okay. This is a really cool insight, right? So again, think about it from two different perspectives. Okay, one perspective is the leader, and the other perspective is you. Okay, for you, the problem you're facing is probably the biggest problem you ever faced, right? Whereas from the leader's perspective, you're probably one amongst 50 or 100 people, and so the problem you face is 1/50th of their mind share, right? Unless and until the initiative that is working on is like a really big initiative, right? So it's the 50 people that I have to work with. So not a big deal, right? So when somebody comes to me and says, Prasad, I hate this, I do this, all I see is frustration, anger. It's okay. People get frustrated and angry and all that stuff. That's perfectly fine, right? But what is my situation at that moment, right? It's like, water that has a lot of mud under it, and you shake the water up, it's all muddy. You can't see anything, right? It's all agitated. So when you're agitated, you cannot really understand what the core problem is. So what do? My role is to reduce the agitation so I can understand what the clear-cut problem is, right? So I'm still not at the point where I'm understanding the problem. So what I'm going to basically, my strategy might be I might say, hey, that's really good, Krati. Can I talk to you in a day's time? Is it critical or not? If it is critical, let's talk. If it's not critical, can I talk to you in a day's time? My hope is, okay, in a day's time, things will de-agitate, and then I will start looking at the core issue. Okay. Or potentially what I might also do is, if I'm probably, got the time or the inclination, I might sit down and say, okay, tell me what happened. Okay. I might ask 10 questions and figure out, okay, what is the core issue? But then by the time it's done, I would have lost about 30 minutes to 40 minutes or an hour of my time. Okay. Now, once I lose that hour of a time, I realize I could have spent this hour somewhere else. I'm looking at you and I'm saying, I have a bad feeling because of you, I waste time, and I start associating that feeling with you, right? So the core thing that when you are kind of approaching the problem is never go to
Bhimarada
a
shampoo.
kind of a situation when you are agitated or because you're agitated, obviously things look worse than they are. Okay. So never try to approach the leadership in that state of mind, right? Just spend a, hour a day or whatever, de-stress, right? Identify what the core issue is. Let's talk about the core issue. Okay. And once you talk about the core issue, it's solved. It takes 5 minutes to do the communication. And once you do that, once you have 5-minute communications with people, the other person realizes, yeah, I just talked to this person. I don't have to waste time. It's like I get the thought process and the decision is made. We move forward. Okay. I feel good about interacting with that person. Okay. So that's really good, really important. Go ahead, Kranti. You raised your hand.
So I have one follow-up question, but I'll just tell my experience. Where I'm working, we'll be having weekly update call with a VP of product management. So the good thing what I am experiencing is like he's from, his previous organization is Adobe. So he has that sensibilities, like while discussing on our work or else whatever we're doing, he'll be keen about the details actually. So
right.
Even we sometimes miss out. So the one thing I wanted to add is like their time is crucial. We'll be getting 30 minutes per week, all the designers, like we are 6 designers in the team. So within that, we have to finish up with our updates or else whatever it may be. But a few people are getting a chance to directly, talk to him, and like he is leaning onto them. Like I can literally see that. My follow-up question is how to bypass that hierarchical. For example, I am reporting to design head, so he will be reporting to VP of product management. So how can we bypass that? It's not like a obstruction or something. It's not a problem, but how can we bypass and talk to, approach leadership team people easily?
See, there's 2 ways of bypassing, and this is something that we as leaders are very, very sensitive to. Okay. Why do I have somebody between you and me? Think about it, right? Why do I have somebody between you and me? So I'll give you another hint. Okay. So when you go for the interviews for the army, the SSB, okay, they do something called a group task. Okay, where it's a command task. So you are the commander, and you get to pick out 4 people that you want to work with, and you are given a task and you basically do it. Okay. And one of the things that people will reject you for this is like a big red flag. If you start doing the work, you get rejected. Okay. Why does this person get rejected if they start doing the work? And by the way, I am guilty of all of these mistakes, right? In my career, I have made all of these mistakes, okay, in communicating with my leaders. And after years, I have kind of realized the mistakes I have made, and by then the opportunity is gone, right? But I want to make sure that you guys are not making that mistake when you're in your organization, okay? So the question that I'm asking is, and this has huge, profound impacts on your career. So the question I'm asking for you, Kranti, is, or anybody, is when people are interviewing for the army, okay, and you're given the command task and you start doing the task, you get rejected. Why? should you not be valued for completing the task? Yeah, go ahead, Kavit.
Because you are actually wasting the manpower of the 4 people given to you.
Not really. You're getting the job done. If one guy gets the job done, why are you wasting? Well, who will complain? Right? There's a bigger problem there.
Okay.
See, if you are the leader, okay, the leader is expected to think strategically, big picture, right? And you are the guy on the ground helping everybody. You're not seeing the next problem come up, isn't it? So your job as a leader is to plan, strategize, and kind of hit the bigger picture target. Whereas the 4 people that are helping you are the people that are getting the job done on the ground, right? So it is a difference between strategy and tactics. Somebody is looking at the strategy of things, somebody is looking at the tactics of things. Correct? So now, why do I have somebody between me and Kranti? The reason I have somebody in between me and Kranti is, if Kranti keeps coming to me, if the tactic guy is constantly coming to me and talking to me like, should I put blue or green, this or that, I don't care, right? So because honestly, I am worried about my job. I need to focus on the strategy. What if I was helping Kranti look at green, blue, yellow, and all of a sudden, there was a bigger strategic problem with the client that I could not foresee. Now I'm stuck, right? My job is stuck. Not only my job, if I fail, like everybody in my team fails. So there is a huge consequence to that. Okay. So the reason why you have people in between is to kind of make sure that people have adequate brain power to solve the problem that they have been given. Okay. So that is good. Okay. So now that we understand that, should that mean that we don't talk to that person at all? No, absolutely not. Absolutely go talk, right? Now, here are a couple of interesting things, right? So the way you get to talk to those people are, those people, you need to understand, well, what is most important for them, right? What are they focused on? Now, there's a shallow talk and there's a deep talk, okay? And shallow talk, again, we are very tuned for shallow talk. Because what happens, people will come to you, is like, hey, Prasad, how is going? I've been thinking about this idea. I've been thinking about that idea. I will get impressed. Okay, this guy is thinking a lot. Okay. Then I will go and ask their manager. Okay, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? What do you think about Kranti? Because I just noticed you, right? And let us say the manager says, yeah, this guy can't do their job. They are always, you just have to micromanage them and all that. I know that this person doesn't know what they're doing. They're buttering me up. Okay, fine. Ignore, right? You and I are not going to have a deep relationship anytime in the future, right? Because you are not able to do your job, right? So the second use case is the deep talk, right? So in the deep talk, let's say we have a conversation. I like it. I go to your manager and I ask their manager, like, hey, what do you think about Kranti? He says, Kranti is awesome, man. This guy is a rock star. He does all this stuff. Awesome. Really good, right? So I know that, you are good. Now I know that you have the ability to execute at a level. Maybe you can execute at the next level, right? So that's when our relationship gets deeper, because now I'm curious about you. I'm thinking about how I can leverage you, what I can do, what else we can do together, right? So always understand that your competence at your work comes first, right? Now, there's other ways that you can do it. You can probably realize, like, okay, what is the problem that this gentleman is trying to solve, right? Is there a way to solve it? Can you solve it without talking to them, right? It's a very simple thing. You just solve it and you share it. Maybe it might be 5 minutes of your work, you're just doing it, right? So there are those kinds of things as well. But again, understand that, this is a very thin line, right? So for example, you do amazing graphics, okay? And your boss's boss always thinks you do great graphics. And so that is all you can do. They always come back to you and say, yeah, graphic kar do, wo graphic kar do. Is that a deep relationship? Not really, right? You're just being stereotyped and that's what you're doing. So that's actually a red flag for your career. Okay. Just because you're too good at it, you're being stereotyped. So potentially, I think what you need to do is, you need to first understand, be good at your job, understand what their perspective is, and then have a meaningful conversation at that level. Okay. Does that answer your question, Kranti?
Partially, but the thing is, like, as I mentioned, like, if we are bypassing, even for a conversation about something I'm trying on my level or something like that. So how about that? Like, will it end in the other way? That's my
So it might, some managers. So your question is, what would the managers feel about it? The person in the middle, is that right?
yes. I was not informed earlier before approaching him.
Yeah, I mean, see, if you go to the boss's boss and say, tell them something, and the boss's boss comes down to the manager and says, what the hell, or like, have you thought about this or whatever, Kranti came and talked to me about it, I might feel a little bit hurt if I was the manager. Like, Kranti and I talk 5 times a day. Okay. This person hasn't even mentioned this topic, right? And so he's talking senior. So maybe they just want to get more noticed or whatever. I would get hurt, right? But if you, and again, this is where I think the opportunity that I say is, is build a relationship with your manager, right? And then do whatever you want to do, right? If you don't have a relationship with your manager and you're kind of talking with everybody else, at the end of the day, your manager feels like a third wheel. They're not invested in your career. They're not invested in your growth and all that stuff. It is not a good situation to be. I've done it and it's not worth it. Okay. Now, there's other ways that you can also do, right? So when you're talking about that, what if you did something that got you noticed, right? If you get noticed, people will come to you directly, right? And your manager is like, yeah, they're not upset that, Kranti went and approached this person directly, right? So you can always do stuff that gets you noticed, that gets you seen, right? So I mean, when I was doing stuff, I would make posters and stick them all over the place. My data, I put the posters all over. So wherever people would go, they'd see the posters, they'd see my work. I would produce videos, like 2-minute video clips of the data that I would have. And then I would share them out to people. And so everybody would be looking at those video clips and they'd be talking about it, right? So obviously, it was a fairly obvious thing that, yeah, Prasad's work is getting noticed. So everybody comes and talks to Prasad, right? And that's how it was. And then once everybody talks to Prasad, I also go talk to everybody, because once the channel is open, I can also leverage the same channel, isn't it? So that's the way. I think that's a much more natural way. But I think one thing I would say is definitely, do invest your time and be genuine and be honest with your manager. Build a genuine relationship with your manager. And that will help a lot of those conversations.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Go ahead, Narasimha.
Hi, Prasad. First, I would like to introduce myself. This is my first interaction session with you. I'm a bachelor. I'm a master degree. I recently did my master degree in IT, and before that, I have done my BFA graduate from Hyderabad. Currently, I'm in US. I just completed my master, and I'm looking forward to pursue my career in UX. Before, I have 4+ years of experience in IT as an Informatica developer, but I always like to be in a field where I can do some research, so I can have my own ideas. I can give some solutions to the problem. So I thought UX is a good path for me, and I started learning to I started self-learning towards the UX. Currently, I have I used to practice on the XD before before coming to my masters, but now I'm done with my masters, and I'm looking forward to go on a UX path. So I have tried most of my friends. Some people have suggested me IDF and some other courses, but one of my friends suggested me this intensive course. But after talking to Rajiv and Saurabh, I came to know that first I have to have some experience regarding on the UX to join the that course, intensive course. So I have joined these communities, and I have gone through some of your videos, and I found a lot of information to how to start, and how the market look towards the UX designer, how to start as a junior one. So this is my first interactive session. So I need I want to know what is a good path to start as a new UX designer, and yeah, that's what my question. How I have to start my journey, from where? I think you already gave some suggestions in previous videos, but I just want to listen you in live, so I can get some confidence on I want to be more confident. Like because when I went into the IT as an Informatica developer, I do not have much like larger channel or much community to build. But now I'm looking forward to build a very good build a very good relation in the UX. I want to expand my connections in this field. So I need some of your suggestion, and I want I want to know what is the good path to start, where to start. Yeah.
So
Please.
Narasimha, if I heard you correctly, you are right now in the US?
Yes.
Where are you?
I'm in Illinois, Bloomington.
Okay. Bloomington, Illinois. Okay. So, and you're currently working. What's your visa status? You're on F1
no,
or an
actually, yeah, I'm on F1, but last month I have completed my master's, and currently I'm on CPT. Sorry, OPT.
CPT?
OPT,
Okay,
OPT. This is a 3 years status we
Okay,
have.
so that's an EAD thing, right?
Yeah, EAD. I'm on EAD.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And you are currently working. You already have work as an Informatica developer. Is that right?
Yes, in India, not here.
Okay. Okay. So I think I kind of resonate with where you are because I kind of went through a similar cycle. So there's, visa related stuff that I can talk about. But I think let's talk about the specific context of UX first. Okay. So Saurabh, can you share your screen and share that one deck that we had about, how do people start building up their careers in UX? So while Saurabh is sharing, the one thing I do want to say why we do the intensive the way it is, right? So intensive is not just for UX folks, even graphic design people who've been working in the design space for at least a year is when I take people into the intensive, because those are the people that will benefit the most. Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, because for them, they're not in a hurry to get a job. They want to get their concepts tightened. Okay. Whereas when somebody is coming who's just looking to get a job, then we need to focus on the job, not on the, I'm going to teach you everything. No, I don't want everything. I want food on my plate today, right? So this is a very different kind of a conversation. So when you think about what are the most common design tasks that people do when they join a company, right? Now, again, a type 3 company is slightly different, or it's actually significantly different, but this is what would happen in a type 2. Type 2 generally is most of the companies will, a significant percentage will fall in type 2, not most, but significant. So if you were joining on the first day, and guys, please feel free to jump in. Maybe these are not the, the complete set of tasks. If you have other tasks that you think of, please feel free to jump in. But the most common tasks are, okay, build a design from scratch given a design system. So somebody will give you a design system and says, this is the look and feel that we are looking for, and here's the standards. Now you start designing for this problem. Okay. Or redesign a product to make it better. So not appear better, but make it better. So, or they might say, it should appear better, but really what they're thinking is make it better at the back of their mind. Okay. Then they might say digitize something, right? Digitize an experience or a form, or execute and leverage your tools to kind of execute on something. Okay. These are the 4 common kinds of tasks that any designer is expected to do. Okay. So what you should be doing, and I can tell you do this, do this, do this. No, I'm just saying, if you can do these 4 tasks, you're ready for a job. That's very simple, right? And so now when you start thinking about these 4 tasks, then what are the topics you need to learn to do this? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is where it is, right? So executing, instructions, if you look at all of these screens, okay, what is the thing that is most common in all of these?
Design.
Yeah. What topics? So if you look at topics to learn, and this is open to everybody, right? What is the most common topic in all of these?
Design pattern and visual
Fundamentals and principles, maybe.
So we have, let's see, design patterns is in everyone, right? So design patterns are things that you absolutely need to learn.
Okay.
Okay. And we have like the content, my Medium articles, there's an article on Medium. And then also, I'm not sure if Shravani has done this, but there's related content as well. That stuff that I may have not written, but there are other people that have written and all that. So there's a lot of related content that is connected there. Okay. So you just have to look at that, look at the related content and practice it, right? So we also do out a portfolio builder series where, you know, it's available where these 4 tasks, you are just exercised in these tasks to be able to do it really, really well. Okay, and you can build up your portfolio. So you can join into that portfolio builder series that Rajiv runs, and then you basically get feedback and you're executing on that. So design patterns is number 1. What is the next one?
Design principles.
Design principles. Okay.
Tools.
Not necessarily. Right. Tool fundamentals is the next most important one. Right. It appears in at least 3 of those areas. Right. And when I say tool fundamentals, it's not to say which feature is where and all that stuff, right? That's not what I mean by tool fundamentals. It is the ability to execute with a tool very, very quickly. Okay. So knowing what features are there or not there. So tool fundamentals includes 2 components. One is how to plan your task, and the second is how to execute your task. Okay. Both of these together are tool fundamentals. Okay. And I don't care that you learn all the tools, right? If you just take XD, XD is fine. You take Figma, Figma is fine. Just take one tool, be really good at it. And once you know how to do that tool, any new tool that comes, at maximum, it will take you like a day to learn it. It's not a big deal. Okay. So pick up one of those tools and nail it and learn to do the work in hours. Okay. So that is tool fundamentals. Now, once tools fundamentals is done, then what is the next part?
Design principles.
Then it comes to design principles. You have visual design principles and there are general design principles. Both of those are kind of related, right? So that's where all the other stuff will come in, right? So then you can look at design principles. Then you look at, form design. You can look at design essentials. So these basic stuff, you kind of start learning that. So in net, my argument is that if you are very disciplined and you're practicing, right, it will take you 6 to 8 weeks and you should be able to get your job, right? Your first job. Okay. But it is a very systematic approach. And you're basically, this is exactly like what we do in our exams in India, right? We look at the previous year's exam papers, we evaluate that, and then we work back and say, okay, based on these exam papers, this is how much I need to learn. That's exactly what we need to do when we're doing design. If you kind of go into like textbooks or all the stuff, you'll get lost because there's so many topics. By the time you're done, you don't even know whether you're capable of getting your job or not.
Yes.
All right. Does this answer your question, Narasimha?
Yes. Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Like, what is the job market? Like, what are the, I want to ask, what is the job market in US for the UX designer? Like, what are the opportunities? Like, what is the ratio to the designer? Like,
so generally the healthy ratio is supposed to be 1:5, 5 engineers, 1 designer. Right?
No, when I search on LinkedIn or somewhere like a UX design, I could not find many jobs for the UX designers. What your take on this? Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This is insane. Or maybe right now the economy is different or whatever. Let me quickly look at my LinkedIn.
I think
this
it
is
would
like
be
very surprising for me.
It would be product designers, or the title is a little bit different.
I just searched like UI UX designer, so maybe I might have searched wrong, but
okay, let's see. Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen here. All right. So I'm based out of Cleveland, so I'm probably getting Cleveland jobs because of that. But yeah, there's a UX designer, senior UX designer. There's like page is full, dude.
Oh.
Right, 40 pages of it. Right.
Okay.
So UI UX designer, I'm curious how that plays out. Yeah. So generally in the US, when you're applying, you do not see a lot of UI. That UI UX designer is an India thing. And
Yeah,
in
that
India, we
might
have
be the problem.
murdered the whole
Mhm.
concept of a UX designer altogether.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So
So,
that might
and
be the problem, Prasad. Yeah, because
yeah,
I have searched as a UI UX designer, not the direct UX designer.
right. But there's also the other part, right? So the user experience.
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting insight. Okay. Now, when we put in a title that says user experience designer, we get better quality candidates. Okay.
Mhm.
When we just put in UX designer, the quality of people that come through are much worse. Right. And the reason is people are lazy, right? If I'm lazy to not even type in user experience, then what do you think the guy is going to be a good employee for me? You know, just by making it slightly harder and say user experience, I get better quality. So, you know, the quality companies that say user experience designer also have thought about what they've done, because they are also not lazy and the employee is also not lazy to search for it, right? So this is a very small insight, but, it's been mind blowing. So again, you know, you have a lot of these job titles that are like, it's there, right? So the only thing that is there, the challenge that you would see here is most of these guys are looking for seniors and leads.
Yes. My
Okay.
next question was that do I need to apply as a intern or do I need to go as a junior designer?
So see, junior design and intern, I'm assuming you graduate from University of Illinois, is that right?
Like Eastern Illinois University, Charleston.
Okay.
Same,
Eastern
it is
Illinois
in Illinois.
University. Okay.
Yeah.
So see, generally internships, are, it's a very tightly knit relationship between the university and the employer. Okay.
Yes.
You can apply for internships outside, like Google will have open internships and all that, but the chances of getting those internships are insane, right? Generally, the best chance of getting an internship into companies is when they are in your campus and recruiting, right?
But
So,
I don't see many like opportunities from our college regarding the UX. They might
right.
have given for a developer like Java developer or an iOS developer, but not for the
Right.
UX.
Yeah. Your university is not very well known in the design space. I don't even know if they have a
Yes.
design program.
No, they might have, but I'm also not sure.
Right. Right. So I think that is fine. Right. So the way you want to be basically is start freelancing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Learn your basic core concepts, start freelancing, getting in there. And then while you're doing that, build up your portfolio, start applying, and then start the conversation going. Okay. The second aspect is, and again, given you're in the US, your visa situation is much more different, right?
Yes.
So my argument to you would be, forget about design right now, get a visa, because right now the job market is not that great, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
what is also interesting is, with Microsoft and Meta and all these companies laying off tens of thousands, I know of companies that have laid out their complete design and product teams, right? So imagine how many more senior people you're competing with,
Yes.
right? So when the quality of people is really hot in the market, and again, when layoffs happen, there are two reasons why layoffs generally happen, right? Or at least that I can think of, right? And one point is, yeah, somebody, you don't have enough money to sustain the team. Of course, you have to lay off, right? The second point is you realize that there are good people in the market. So it is time to take the low performers out of your organization and open up the space for the good performers, right? So both
Yes.
of these are happening in the market simultaneously.
Oh.
Okay. So when you're coming in as a fresh guy into the market, especially in a bad economy that the US is facing right now, you are going to have significant headwinds. Okay. So what is more important for you right now is to maintain your visa status. Okay. So get into a programming job, right? get started there. Okay. And then, you start, within your company, you can start doing design, right? You can always volunteer to do additional stuff, increase your scope of opportunity, do other stuff, do more interesting stuff, right? And then freelance on the side, do a couple of projects here, there, you will gradually build up your portfolio. And generally from, I've been in the US for God knows how many years, like 20, 30 years now. I've seen the market. I've gone through like 2 or 3 downturns and stuff like that. And what I see is generally a downturn does not last more than 18 months. Okay. So you have to sustain yourself in those 18 months, build up your portfolio, do all that stuff, get some work experience. And then once the 18 months start, once things start heating up, you can always transition within your own company or outside of your company. That's fine. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, Kranti has got a link. It says, now this is an interesting one, right? And thank you very much, Kranti, for sharing this. And this is like, working with startups and stuff like that. Now, this is an interesting opportunity because this is awesome, because when you work with startups, right now, if you think about it, startups they're different stages of their life cycle. Okay. You have startups that are bootstrapped, that are like barely trying to prove their concept and stuff. And then you have startups that have proven their concept. Now they're trying to scale up. Then you have startups that have scaled up. Now they're trying to mature, right? So you have different stages of startups. Okay. And what I find is bootstrap startups are much more willing to get talent wherever they can find them. Right. And this link, and they're like, Kranti has shared this, and you can always do moonlighting. You can work with them off the, over email, whatever, right? So they a lot of these startups that will be willing. And I know there are a couple of other websites as well, Crunchbase or whatever, a couple of other places as well, where bootstrap startups are looking for talent. Okay. And again, if you have your ability, you have your skills in place, by all means, reach out to these bootstrap guys and ask them. But the interesting thing with bootstrap startups is they will expect you to do everything, interaction, visual research, whatever, everything. I want one guy to do everything for me, right? So it'll be a little bit more stressful, a little bit more ambiguous, but it's definitely going to be a lot more fun. So thank you, Kranti.
But I hope if you work in startup, we can like put hand in everywhere, like we can learn all the aspect. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. See, working in a startup is interesting. And again, given that you've come into the US and you're kind of, see, generally what I see is like, if you've traveled outside your city, I would, or your country, right? It means that you're comfortable with ambiguity, because when you came, you probably did not know where you'll get a job, what kind of a degree, you're comfortable with that level of ambiguity. And so if you're comfortable with that level of ambiguity, working with a startup is probably one of the most rewarding experiences. Right. But the thing is, 9 out of 10 will not work. That is the truth, but it is rewarding nonetheless. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Go ahead, Shrikar. I can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
don't understand the correlation between video and audio.
yeah. 1 second, I'll try to fix it.
Okay.
I think
Go ahead,
my
Kranti. So while you're fixing, I'll talk to Kranti. You can test your video and audio before you start it off. Go ahead, Kranti.
Sir, I have similar question. Like, right now I'm just thinking, I'm talking to my friends. So like right now everyone is taking up masters, at least 1 year program like that, and then trying to get placed in US and trying that stuff. But how we can get an opportunity as a UX designer itself and try to move to other countries? Like, how is it that possible? I know there is visa related issue, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
So wait, let me ask you a question, right? Why are you looking to move to the US? Is it money? Is it country, right? Is it like exposure? What is your core reason?
Main reason is exposure. Like, after talking to my friends, I came to know that it's about exposure. So money, it follows. Like, obviously, if you are competent enough to get work there, so then comes in.
So this is interesting, right? I have been lucky enough that everybody that I have recommended have ended up in one of the top 5 design programs, right? And I've also had people that have gotten admissions in the top 5 design program, but have gone to non-top 5 design programs, right? And I've seen that also, okay? So because the top 5 programs will cost you a lot of money. It will cost you a lot of money, right? I mean, there's some programs that are really good and cheap. If you get into those, it's lucky. The competition is intense. But, you know, the thing that I generally find how to do the transition, right? So when it's a bad economy, you know, you want to wait, you know, your degree is probably going to be anywhere between 12 to 18 months, right? And if you have experience as a designer, right? And I generally, you know, I'm the kind of guy that does not recommend a master's degree for a piece of paper, right? I don't recommend doing that, right? What I recommend is, see, there is, you know, the training that we give, let's say, for example, the, you know, the portfolio builder series or whatever, or the intensive, as opposed to a master's. What is the difference, right? The difference in the programs that we do versus the masters is our programs are directed directly to get you into the job and be capable in that job, right? A master's degree, what it does, it expands your mind. It makes you think in 100 different ways, right? Because in a master's, you have the time to think about many, many ways of solving the problem, right? What if you connected to biotechnology? What if you connected to tangible fabrics? Or what if you're connected to computing? How does the science look like, right? So when you look at some of these top programs, they will make you think in ways that, you know, our programs are not designed to do, right? So my argument to you is, if you are really looking to do a master's degree, number one, do it because you genuinely want to expand your mind, right? Then you will learn, you will explore, you will basically make amazing friends, amazing relationships, right? I mean, I still remember when I was in grad school, literally, like, we would, you know, I had a friend in materials engineering. That guy, he had this one machine that would, you know, embed materials into another material, atom by atom, right? So my thought was, oh, can you actually take like a, you know, what do you call, water repellent material and embed it in my pants so my pants become waterproof, right? And we were literally doing that in grad school. Like, you take $1 million equipment and he and I were in the night playing around with that. Imagine how much fun it is, right? So do a master's program because it's going to be fun. Choose a university because you're going to learn from there, right? Now, that said, right, getting into some of these top programs, what it allows you to do is, you know, it allows you the platform, because a lot of these good companies come into those universities, right? And when they come into those universities, you just basically have to, you're seamlessly transitioning into a type 3 company, right? And that is probably one of the best ways of doing it, okay? If you do not get into the top 5, the top 10, right? And even in the US, right? The exposure is a lot more. You are probably going to be spending a lot of time hustling on the ground, okay? You're going to be taking your resumes, putting it into places, talking to people, hustling, you know, get your job opportunity. And I know I was not in one of the top universities, right? So I was in, you know, when I went for my master's, it was a tier 2 or a tier, it was a tier 2 university. But they had an amazing program around military, right? So around the US Air Force. So I learned a lot, right? I learned a lot, but of course, you know, because the university wasn't very well known, I did not get the opportunities as easily as I thought I should have got, right? So that's what it is. So that's what my advice is like, you know, wait for another 6 to 7 months until the economy starts clearing up in the US, and then apply to a master's and then move. Does that make sense, Kranti?
Yes, sir. Understood. Like recently, I spoke to a person from RIT. Like they have very good program for HCA. So that person told me, obviously, I mean, their companies are more interested in people. I mean, investing in STEM related candidates, like who are doing masters there, rather than giving opportunities for UX designers. So that's what
I would argue. UX is STEM, right? And in fact, I have hired from RIT, right?
Okay.
Brian is an alumni of RIT. I'm not sure if you know Brian. Brian Ashbog, he's one of our instructors and mentors. He was the head of the research at Netflix. So he was an RIT alum, right? So the RIT has a very strong alum network. But again, you know, the one thing that I would say, and this is something that has bothered me, is when Indian students come to the US, we generally tend to be very insular, right? We hang out with our, only Indians and all that. Like, how are you learning more about the culture? How are you doing stuff, right? Go have an American roommate, go meet a Hungarian person, right? I mean, people from all around the world come and expand your thought, expand your scope. You get better at that. So RIT is definitely a good program, but my argument is it's not just that you got admission in the program that makes it, right? So you get admission into the program and you put that mindset to work from day one, right? Go connect, go network, go talk, go do freelance work, go do whatever, just hustle on day one. Okay. And I think you will have a lot of fun.
Thank you, sir. So you say like UX is like STEM. I mean, it will come under STEM.
Absolutely. It is under STEM. It is a STEM program because, I mean, it's a complete science in itself, right? I mean, you have to know that stuff. Otherwise, you have to know AI, machine learning. You have to know, VR, AR. You have to know all that stuff because you're taking that and you're building around it, isn't it? Now, my master's degree was human factors engineering. It was an engineering degree, right? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Go ahead, Shrikar.
Yeah. So I have a question, two questions, Prasad. So we have talked about different fields of study transition.
So this is the last question and we'll end the call at this point. Is that okay, guys? Fine. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked about different fields of study transitioning into UX design, right? Engineers, architects, psychology, and even doctors now. So I have two different questions regarding this. So just to give you the context, the other day, me and my friend was, we were watching news on television. And we could easily sense that within the first 2 minutes that the information that specific news channel was providing, it was completely biased. Okay. And we have been observing this problem for the past few years now. Right. And I mean, let the topics be about politics, culture, environment, let it be anything. So me and my friend started to dig deep and understand the major problems in this specific domain, media or journalism. And then we started to understand that the root cause of the problem, I mean, let it be any problem. So the root causes are mainly, spreading fake news around and a lot of information overload. So people, let's say citizens of India, are unable to make a decision like following these news channels, right? So one of the use cases that we thought about and hypothesized was, let's say if news channels starts spreading fake news widely, then it might affect general elections in India. So this was the hypothesis that we had initially.
Okay, so what's the question, Shrikar?
Yes, I'm getting back to that question. So then we thought, me and my friend, we were thinking that UX designers is equal to problem solvers, right? So assuming this specific domain, media or journalism, is untapped by UX designers, what if a person from media or journalism industry wants to transition to UX design? How should they plan their career?
It's this kind of a question. It's not a straight kind of question. See, my argument would be, whether it's a media or a journalist or whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Their transition is the same as anybody. Right. Now, the second point is, what you've talked about, Shrikar, is like, oh, they put fake news. Yeah, so what? Right? I mean, my argument is, since when did media, when did they, since when were they the arbiters of truth, right? The day they started taking money, they're also a business, right? Everybody is a business, right? Every business makes trade-offs, right? And so when you have to deal with those trade-offs, you manage it, right? Everybody has an agenda, right? So, the very interesting statement that was made is, doesn't matter if you make good food or bad food. If you make a restaurant, don't change your chef. You know why? If you make bad food, you will have fan group that will eat that bad food and they're happy. Right? If you made good food, then you'll have a fan base for that also. Right? But if you go between good and bad food every day, then neither you're not satisfying any of your audiences. So you're not making any money. Right?
Understood, yeah.
So my argument is, I don't think, like, I mean, there's also a subtle statement that you make in what you're saying, which is, you are saying like, somehow UX designers are, good, and then they're only solving the world's problems and stuff like that. Yeah, in an ideal world, we'd like to do that. Right? But at the end of the day, we are still getting paid by business. So we still have to think about business goals and business intentions. Right? So if you think about it, we are, if you show the diagram between like, engineering, product, business, and user, right? We are trying to create a happy medium between all of that. What that means is we are compromising on different elements to make it something that everybody can use and benefit from. Isn't it?
Yes.
So
but
our job is to create those opportunities of overlap that will be good for everybody. Right? But you're still worried about those trade-offs.
Right. But let's say, what if the impact is on the negative side? That's my whole point.
Again, if you were Facebook and you were being paid, like Facebook pays a really good salary, right? And you're being, I've heard from Facebook employees that they will not let their children on Facebook, but they're creating a product that other kids can use. Right? Now, what is the, why is that person doing that?
They know the nuances of what happens if we use Facebook.
Yeah, but why is that person still doing that job then? In your universe, then that person should not be doing that job, right?
It depends on different personas actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there'll always be somebody to do that job. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right? I may be against the military. I may not be interested in doing military design, right? But there'll be somebody that will be interested in doing it. So there'll always be somebody that will do that job.
Okay.
Right? So the thing that you have to look at as an individual is you have to understand what compromises you're willing to live with, what compromises you're not willing to live with, and make your bed accordingly, right? And deal with the consequences.
So that brings back to the second question. So let's say a UX designer who has completed training in UX design and wants to start their career in media and journalism. So how should they approach now once they have completed the training in UX design?
The same way as any guy.
Okay.
Right? See, the thing is, what you need to do is you need to do a SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
Okay. You're understanding what are your strengths that you can give to the job. You have to understand the job description, just like what we've done here. We've taken the UX and said, what are the 4 tasks that people want to do? Right? So you understand the job description, and then you say, okay, what strengths am I bringing to the table? What weaknesses do I have when compared to other people? Right? What are the opportunities? Then what are the threats? Right? So once you identify that, then you go in and execute. Regardless, it doesn't matter which job to which job you're moving, right? Even if you're moving for research to interaction, still you do that. You understand what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are, and then you transfer.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. So if you are, coming from any other background in industry, how should you transition to the UX? I think that's the core of what Shrikar was trying to say. And my argument is, every industry will have its own unique strengths and opportunities that you will have trained on. So it's not that, UX is a brand new field. UX is one of those fields where you can be from anywhere and move into UX. Okay. However, what is important is you understand what you bring to the table. What do you offer for that job? And what are your weaknesses? And you work to control your weaknesses and you basically play on your strengths. Okay. And that's how you transition into the job. So, if you're doing graphic design, well, you know graphic design, all you need to do is transfer into visual design and from there grow into the UX space, right? If you're good as a coding or an engineer or whatever, you probably understand interaction design really well. So that is your strength. It's your natural intention. So get into interaction design and from there transfer over, right? So that's the overall thought, is like understand your strengths and weaknesses and build accordingly. Awesome. Thank you very much.